When we talk about the future of the Montreal Canadiens, we talk a lot about those dynamic forwards like Cole Caulfield, Nick Suzuki, Juraj Slafkovsky. But is there another young player on that roster who quite potentially could be one of the more underrated future superstars? He's done it in junior. He's done it on the international stage, and defenseman Kaiden Guhle is really starting to come into his own in the NHL. I mean, it's quite possible when they reactivated him off of the injury list, I think they activated a little bit of beast mode. Today, we're going to take a look at what an impact player Kaiden Guhle has been for the Montreal Canadiens, not just recently, but over the course of this season and before that. And what about going beyond the professional ranks in terms of what's coming through the pipeline for the Canadiens on the back end? Before we start, I'm putting a call out to you, however. Next week's video is all about answering your questions. So if you have a question about the Montreal Canadiens, the Laval Rocket, or Habs prospects in general, drop a comment down below and I'll throw that into the Rocket Sports mailbag, and who knows, your question could be one of the ones that I discuss and answer on next week's video. It's interesting how this season the Canadiens not only are sitting somewhere in the standings that I think a lot of people are surprised to see, they're managing to pull out some wins when it's really not expected for them to, but in big games like against the Boston Bruins on Saturday night, an overtime win, and to see it done by none other than Kaiden Guhle, his first career game-winning goal, winning it in overtime, the second youngest Habs defenseman in franchise history to pot an OT game winner. The only guy who's ever done and who's been younger was PK Subban. I mean, you saw his reaction when he scored the goal. I mean, game-winning goal, OT goal, his first goal of the season. He was pumped. And even when he spoke to the media pre-game, he was pretty, it sounded like he was pretty hyped and up for this game against the Boston Bruins.
You know, the rivalry and the history between these two teams, so it'll be fun. I've heard from guys that it's definitely a little bit more competitive games, and both teams try to play hard on each other, so it'll be fun. I'm excited.
And after the game, he had plenty of reasons to be pleased.
I don't know, I just honestly, hockey god or something just kind of popped out right to me, and all I had to do was shoot it and hit the net and went in. So, I mean, we had two of our guys at the net battling, and then just popped right out and basically just shot it. And no, again, that's an unbelievable feeling. It's pretty cool to score an overtime winner in the NHL, never mind at the Bell Center. So it was cool for sure.
For my money, Kaiden Guhle is one of the most exciting young defensemen to watch for the Montreal Canadiens. I've been very excited about his game and his upside and what his ceiling could look like ever since he went pro. It was very unfortunate having to deal with the injuries last year, only really getting to play half the season. But coming out of junior, this is a young man who has put up great numbers in junior. He has represented his teams well, both at the junior level and for international play. He has held a leadership role everywhere he has played. It's something I expect we'll see Kaiden Guhle wearing a letter at some point in the not-so-distant future for the Montreal Canadiens as well. You can, just even when talking to him right when he went pro, he is a very mature young man, and you can see that both on and off the ice. Very mature, has a good head on his shoulders, but plays a very strong game. When you see that there's a young prospect who's really kind of taking the reins and almost leading that back end and the blue line for the Canadiens, it's very exciting. Although I have a question. Second youngest Canadiens defenseman to ever score an OT game winner. First career game-winning goal, as I said. First goal of the season, as I said. And just in general, he was the game winner in overtime. Do you want to tell me how he only got third star that night? Sam Montembeault got first star that night, and Kaiden Guhle was given third star? Are you serious? If anything, that should be swapped. It is almost standard that whoever wins in overtime or in the shootout, whoever pots that goal, they get first star. How does Kaiden Guhle only get third star on that night? Wasn't thrilled about that decision. Like I said at the top of the show, when we talk about the future of the Canadiens, it's easy to talk about the guys who are the most visible, the Cole Caulfields, the Nick Suzukis, the Juraj Slafkovskys, the exciting players like Arbor Xhekaj, Raphael Harvey-Pinard, those types of players. But Kaiden Guhle is really making a strong case for himself to be a potential future superstar for the Montreal Canadiens and a real role model for younger fans. Taking a look at just this season, what has Kaiden Guhle done in the 10 games that he's played? Well, he's got 1 goal and 5 assists on the season so far in just those 10 games. Those 6 points make him second in points for defensemen, trailing just Mike Matheson, who's got 11. I don't usually put a whole lot of stock in plus minus, but I do think it's key in this case in that Kaiden Guhle is +9 on the season so far. +9. He is leading the team in plus minus, and the reason why I make note of this is because it is by a mile. The next player on the Montreal Canadiens that comes even close to that is Jonathan Kovacevic at +3. So Kaiden Guhle is by and far on the ice many more times when good things are happening for the Montreal Canadiens, and that says a lot of good things about Kaiden Guhle. So with young Kaiden Guhle, we are absolutely looking at the future of the blue line for the Montreal Canadiens and the young defenseman who's going to lead the charge for that. Justin Barron also having a very good season to start, maybe even a bit better and a bit stronger play than some people were expecting. Jordan Harris hasn't come crashing out of the gates yet, but he's having an okay season so far, and there is a lot to like about Jordan Harris's game as well. Jordan Harris was even a game-time decision for Sunday's game, which resulted in the Canadiens recalling Gustav Lindstrom from Laval, just in case Jordan Harris couldn't play. So the question is, when it comes to recalls from Laval in terms of prospects, who would likely or could possibly be the first prospect on the blue line to get a recall from Laval? Well, if you're looking at offense, if you're looking for a puck-moving defenseman who can put points on the board, then that would be Logan Mailloux, because he has been absolutely killing it in that department for Laval so far this season. However, Logan is very young and has a lot to learn about the professional game, and where he is succeeding on the offensive side of things, it is his defensive play that definitely has some weaknesses that need some work at this level. So I actually don't think that Logan Mailloux would necessarily be the first prospect to be recalled for a look in the NHL. I think that would fall to Jayden Struble. Jayden Struble had an admirable performance with Laval last season in the games that he played, and this year he has been one of their strongest defensemen in a season that has not certainly started the way that the Laval Rocket would have liked to. Struble has been very effective defensively and offensively. He's got 1 goal and 3 assists so far on the season, but his defensive play has been absolutely more noticeable and the most noticeable. As I said, Mailloux is good on the offense. He's got 6 points, 3 goals and 3 assists already. He has been a good playmaker for Laval, but a lot needs to be worked on the play in his own zone. But for me, Jayden Struble could be the first prospect that we'll see eventually get a recall when they're looking to look at a young defenseman. William Trudeau has done okay. He's had 5 assists on the season so far, but there have been a lot of times where I've seen William Trudeau make some pretty glaring mistakes as well. So I think William Trudeau is another one that needs to spend some time in the AHL and really work on the little details in his game. Matthias Norlinder, unfortunately, he has had a really rough go of things for Laval. In fact, he was a healthy scratch in their game on Sunday with a -13 on the season. Now, It's not helping that the team in general has not been very good. So this is not, of course, all on Mattias Norlinder's shoulders, but it is an indication that he's had some struggles. He's getting scratched occasionally, and so I wouldn't expect to see Norlinder get recalled by the Canadiens anytime soon. There is still work to be done there. Oh, and while we're talking about defensive prospects for the Montreal Canadiens, let's look a little farther than the pro ranks just for a quick check-in with, Lane Hutson. You know, Lane Hutson, the guy who last year in his freshman season in the NCAA played 39 games and put up 15 goals and 33 assists to become a Hobey Baker finalist. Yeah, that Lane Hutson. Well, he's on fire again this year. In just 9 games played, Lane Hutson has 8 goals and 3 assists already. He's already got a hat trick under his belt for the season. That came versus North Dakota on November 4th. Lane Hutson is once again tearing it up in the NCAA, and this is going to be yet another young defenseman that is going to be absolutely thrilling to watch when he makes the jump from college hockey over to the pros. And all of that's before we've even considered the fact that there's a number 5 overall pick named David Reinbacher playing over in Europe this year, who is going to get some great experience and could be another exciting prospect to watch for the Canadiens on the blue line. Hey, real quick, if you've been enjoying this video and the rest of the content that we put out here on the channel, if you haven't done so already, why don't you just take a moment to tap that subscribe button, also hit the like button, and be sure to tap the notification bell. We don't ever want you to miss one single video that we put out here on the Rocket Sports YouTube channel. And don't forget to drop me a comment down below with your question that you want answered about the Montreal Canadiens, the Laval Rocket, or Habs prospects in general, because on next week's video, I'm going to be answering your questions on a mailbag episode. So yes, it has been a fun ride so far watching the Montreal Canadiens, and watching Kaiden Guhle pot that OT winner against the Boston Bruins was definitely a highlight early in the season so far. Not so great of a performance against Vancouver the next night. And yeah, there's going to be tough games for this young team throughout the rebuild, just like there are still tough decisions that need to be made sooner rather than later for the Montreal Canadiens. And in fact, last week, I laid out my 3 biggest issues that I feel the Montreal Canadiens need to address sooner rather than later. If you missed that episode, well, you can check it out right here. Just click on this video, and I'll see you back here again next week. Thanks for watching.